Recently, we here at Midnight's Edge have crossed the 60,000 subscriber mark. To show our gratitude, we have opened up this special edition of a Q&A, an Ask Us Anything, to open the floor to our fans, for without whom we could not do this. And joining us for the special AMA from Midnight's Edge After Dark and our main channel, Tom Connors.
Hello, hello. And
also joining us is the Grandmaster, the King of Midnight's Edge, Andre.
Greetings, everyone.
So, and I'm, of course, your narrator supreme, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo. We're going to kick this off. We're going to be fielding your questions. Hopefully, we're going to answer a few pressing matters that have been troubling you fans out there. And we're going to have a little fun here with this. So why don't we just kick it right off? We're going to be taking questions right now from the Facebook group. Mr. Brian R. Jan, thank you for submitting your question. If you could have any screen used prop from any movie, what would you pick? Tom?
It's a tough one. I'd have to say probably either Freddy's Claw or one of the original lightsabers, I suppose. That'd probably be one of my picks. Rob?
Oh, gee whiz. That's actually really good. That is actually a really good question. You know, actually, what I would really like to have, either from for the first Avenger, I'd like to have Captain America's leather jacket that he wore when he rescued everybody.
The bomber jacket?
The bomber jacket, yeah, and possibly the shield if I could, maybe, because they're match set, hopefully. Andre, what would you like to have?
Oh, that's a really tough question, but I think I would like the Terminator arm from Terminator 2 in the glass monster and everything. That's pretty awesome, so I think that I would have that as my go-to choice, probably.
You can get that now with the Blu-ray.
Yeah, at least a replica.
No, so, I know. Yeah, I know.
Or something else that would have been awesome. The whip from one of the Indiana Jones movies. Not a replica, but one that was used on screen.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, or that would be good, yeah. The hat, yeah. I have replicas of both because I was Indiana Jones one year for Halloween. That was actually a lot of fun. Brian, thank you for the question. Thomas Bivens asks, do you know of any good live-action adaptations of a video game property? The only one I could think of was Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. No, actually, I really can't. I really can't think of offhand. I'm sure there must be one out there.
Well, I'm sure there is, yes. There's some that we may not know are video games offhand. I'm going to go to the easy one. Even though it's cheesy, it does stick to the original kind of concept pretty well, and that would be Mortal Kombat, I guess, from, what was it, 95?
Yeah.
Other than that, offhand, I can't think of it, but I'm sure Andre knows a couple. I think Silent Hill, wasn't that a video game, too? Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be your choice.
Absolutely. Yes. Took the words right out of my mouth. Silent Hill. I have not seen the sequel, but I'm a huge fan of the original Silent Hill movie, the one from 2006. I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me, that is a great movie, regardless of whether or not it is based on a video game. Outside of that, I haven't seen the new Tomb Raider myself, which is embarrassing because the director is a countryman of mine and everything, but I still haven't seen it. I've heard good things.
Rob?
I've actually, I've been hearing Rampage is pretty good. So, but,
yeah, that's true. I did hear a few people say that.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm pretty sure one will come along at some point. Hopefully if they ever get the Uncharted movie made. Well, and Thomas, thanks for the question. That's a good question, actually.
Also, I have one more to add to that, actually. Personally, I'm a fan of the original 2002 Resident Evil. I also think that's a really good video game movie.
I'm not a fan of the series, but the first one was decent, yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand the series, but the first one I thought was really good.
Yeah, actually, you know what? A little interesting bit of trivia. Silent Hill, the town of Silent Hill, is actually based on a real-life location called Centralia, Pennsylvania, where the whole town had to be abandoned, and the only thing left is the church. And it's not a town anymore. Because there's an underground fire burning there, and it won't be extinguished for about 250 years. And it's burning in an old coal mine. The only thing is left in the church, and there's this sort of there's plenty of YouTube videos on it. It's this very kind of eerie kind of location. So if anybody's interested in following that up, I mean,
thanks for telling me not where to go.
Yes. So avoid Centralia, Pennsylvania on your next holiday. So thank you, and Thomas. Thank you for the question. Elliot Shin I'd love to hear your thoughts on Cobra Kai and your predictions for Season 2.
Well, we kind of covered this in the Cobra Kai roundtable, but we'll have another go. Tom?
Well, yeah, if you want a more extensive review, definitely check out that roundtable, but I loved it. Definitely one of the best shows in a long time, and not just best shows, but best reboots or requels, whatever you want to call it anymore, whatever the latest buzzword is Hollywood's trying to attach to these things nowadays. But it did it right. It took classic nostalgia, but didn't overdo it, added new elements to it, took it seriously, and had fun with it at the same time. You know, perfect balance. You know, even to be punny, considering, you know, to quote Mr. Miyagi. But, yeah, I loved it. Rob?
Yeah, loved it. Thought the ending was a little bit rushed, but it showed you everything you wanted to see. Predictions for Season 2. I still think we're going to see Elizabeth Shue make an appearance, just as for one appearance. And they're both going to say, oh, geez, what do we ever see in her? So, just to kind of... But we're going to see like the showdown between philosophies, between Cobra Kai and Kreese and Daniel-san and Miyagi. You know, the two dojos are going to go head to head with each other. So I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah.
I do think, they're going to have a big thing with Kreese coming in. And one thing we didn't bring up in our roundtable, and this is, of course, spoilers, if you haven't seen the show and heard the news, we did neglect to bring up the fact that Terry Silver and technically I think Mike Barnes still own a part of the Cobra Kai as well. So that's probably going to come into play in the next season, considering Johnny has zero ownership, I'm sure, over the name. Andre, I'm sure you might have a few things to say about that whole thing.
Yeah, again, took the words right out of my mouth, because that's my prediction for Season 2. That Johnny, basically, he just opened Cobra Kai, but I doubt very much that he did any kind of due diligence on the name itself. And what we learned in the previous movies is that there is a Cobra Kai. It's like this Korean branch of karate, and that one Cobra Kai was just one branch of a greater thing, and he just went and he opened a branch. Someone else actually owns it. I think that is going to be a huge thing in Season 2. As for Season 1, I freaking loved it. Apart from Johnny's son, that was a little bit too much. But other than that, fantastic series. Can't wait for Season 2.
Okay, so Elliot Chin, thank you for your question. Rogelio Fabian Palos, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Do you think the rights issue about Friday the 13th will be resolved in a way beneficial for the franchise? Tom, you're more knowledgeable about that than I am. Why don't you take this question? Take the lead on this one.
Interestingly enough, there's been some, I guess you could call them developments in the situation. Some of it you have to take with a grain of salt. I'm not going to get into a bunch of it here because I'm not sure what our plans are with this. But there is a bit of kerfuffle going on right now as people are kind of finding out that the rights issue, even though they thought it was affecting the game knew about it ahead of time. And all these people are kind of finding out that Victor Miller is more than willing to work with people if this email is to be believed that it came out, because there's a lot of chaos going on behind the scenes. But the basics of it is after 35 years, the original writer of a property can claim the copyright back. This is how, obviously, James Cameron got the rights back to the Terminator. If, like, Wes Craven was still alive, he could surely do the same thing with Nightmare on Elm Street. But Victor Miller is claiming that he basically created the entire story and idea for Friday the 13th. And Sean Cunningham, of course, is fighting that, saying he was a writer for hire. He actually owns the rights. But basically what's going to boil down to is this only affects really the first movie, because Jason as an adult didn't come in until the second film, which Victor Miller had nothing to do with. And as my understanding right now, Jason himself is back at New Line Cinema. Technically Warner Brothers, however you want to put it. But under my understanding, Victor Miller did not want to affect the game at all. And as far as the rest of the rights, that tells me then he does not going to want to stop any other thing from happening, because then that prevents him from getting future monetary compensation if he does win the case. But basically what the case in court is right now, just to be clear, isn't so much Victor Miller fighting for the rights. He already put his claim in for the rights. I guess it's Sean S. Cunningham fighting him against that claim. So it's a bit of a mess. But my understanding at this point is it's all of it's really kind of teetering on this court case. But this court case should not be affecting any future Jason films that have nothing to do with the first film, as a sense that those characters created specifically in that first film, which would be child version of Jason, his mother, and the counselors, and so on. Andre?
I think that it's not going to be a quick solution, and I don't think it's going to be an easy solution, and I don't think that there's going to be a straightforward solution. But I do think that after some kind of legal conclusion is reached, money is going to change hands, because that's what this is all about, and there will be more movies down the line eventually. So I think that down the line, there is going to be a satisfactory conclusion.
And what they said. Okay, so that's yes, that's I can't really add anything else to that. But thank you for your question. Angelo Sedicole asks from Sydney, Australia, who can I pitch a show to about time traveling vampires? Stephanie Meyer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Netflix, Amazon.
Well, okay, Amazon. I'm gonna tell you, Amazon has something called the Creator Studio, where you can actually submit scripts and stuff like that, and the community will. They don't vote on it, but they put it to the community, say, hey, would you like to see this? Would you like to see more of this? What do we like about it? What don't you like about it? But it's sort of an open forum for that kind of thing. My only advice is to have whatever you're pitching copyrighted. You can do that very easily. U.S. Copyright Office, I think they have forms online. I think it costs maybe like $25, I think. You have to look into that. But make sure you copyright whatever it is. You know, whatever. Just use up a clever name. Big Angel Productions or whatever. But Amazon Studios actually has a online forum where you can at least get it in front of people. So you can try that. But anything to add about that, guys, or no?
Tom, you have anything to add?
No, that's all you can do, unless you know somebody who knows somebody. That's about it.
Yeah. What I would say is, first I have to ask a question. Do you do this completely solo, or are you working with someone? For instance, do you have a production company? Do you have any kind of track record? Have you done anything like this before? Or do you just have an idea out of the blue and you decide you want to produce a TV series without any prior experience doing that? If that's the case, that's fine. People have gotten showrunners, or people have become showrunners on such foundations before. But it is going to make it more challenging for you. So what I would say, if that is the case, if you do not already have a production company you're working with or that you're affiliated with, then find one. Find some local filmmakers, some local producers who are in your position, career-wise, but who maybe are connected and who know people that maybe you don't and can open the right doors for you. Because in show business, it's not about what you know, it's not about what ideas you have, it's about who you know. That would be my primary advice. And then when you have someone that you're working with, maybe they can help open doors, and then the ones that you want to pitch to try to get this thing made are the ones who have a profile which suggests that they would be open for an idea about time-traveling vampires.
Yeah. There's actually a company called New Form Digital, and they're the ones who actually put together Olin Rogers. And if you don't know that name, Olin Rogers, he's the guy behind the series Final Space, which I'm a huge fan of. They were the ones that actually bankrolled to have him put together what's called a proof of concept. So that is another thing. You don't have to put together a pilot. You might want to put together a short film, which they call proof of concept, maybe 5 to 7 minutes long, just to give people enough of an idea. Because oftentimes, if you can see what it is, that helps too. And even if you just have to hang on to it and sit on it until you can get it in front of somebody, do that. So and like I said, you can try that angle. But anyway, good luck to you. Best of luck to you, because we need new ideas. Actually, we really do. But anyway, thank you for the question. Amethyst, our good friend Amethyst. Since Captain Marvel is going to be one of the most powerful characters in the MCU so far, could the film's possible success cause more powerful characters to get their own films in the future, like Sentry?
Sure.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping Sentry would show up somewhere in Infinity War, actually, because he does. I believe he does. And just to show Warner Brothers how to make a Superman movie. So, yeah.
Well, just to make a point, I do think that even though Andre didn't care for how the Hulk went down like a bitch, I think kind of the whole point of Thanos taking him out like that so quickly is to show there are a lot more powerful people out there than Hulk. And even though at this point Hulk is one of the most powerful characters we've dealt with until Thanos, so I think that that's kind of something they're going to be bringing in, is we're going to get a lot more extreme superpowered characters moving forward. We've been a lot more grounded, and I mean I think they kind of set us up for that when they said, you know, we're going to get a bit more cosmic, which means I think we're going to be seeing a lot more powerful entities. And of course Ego, we had him too.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah, Silver Surfer's right around the corner too, so let's not forget him. He's very powerful.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, but I'm not convinced that Captain Marvel alone is going to open the doors for more superpowered beings, or really superpowered beings, just because Captain Marvel is really superpowered. For instance, how many really superpowered people did Superman open the door for? So I'm not convinced that any more doors are going to be opened than were open already.
Right,
yeah. So anyway, well, Amethyst, as always, thank you for the question. Gracie Lang, she wants to know, is there anything going forward about the Sandman movie? Haven't heard anything since Joseph Gordon-Levitt left the project.
Yeah, neither have I. Andre, this is more your arena, I think.
As far as I'm aware, of course, it could be that they come and announce something tomorrow and make me look like a complete git. But last I heard, it's still deeply entrenched in the deepest circles of development hell, where it has been on and off the last 20 years. I might make a mini documentary or editorial or something about the horrible history of trying to get Neil Gaiman's Sandman made one of these days. That is a story to be told.
That would be a very old school Midnight's Edge mini doc.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it would.
Hey, well, Gracie, thanks for the question. Michael K. wants to know, not Michael K, the sportscaster here in New York, but a different Michael K. When do you think we will start to hear more news about Disney's streaming service? I think maybe this fall we should see some details after the fiscal year.
We've started to hear about some of the programming ideas and all that kind of stuff. They don't have a name yet, but Warner's has a name for their DC streaming service. So yeah, probably fall, because they're planning on launching it next year, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely start hearing something soon, I'd imagine. Probably after all this Fox stuff has calmed down a little bit and everything finally kind of gets in order, and then I'm sure they'll start, just like a typical launch in the fall when they do a new show, they'll probably do a big promotion for this new streaming service and stuff across all kinds of, platforms. So
yeah.
Andre?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that we're only going to be hearing tidbits before the Fox merger is finalized one way or the other. Only when that is either approved once and for all, or rejected once and for all, or something in between, only then will we be hearing something solid. For the simple reason that the Fox catalog is going to play an important part in the programming of that streaming service.
Yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of shows like Family Guy and MASH probably migrate over to Disney streaming. If that's the case.
I think the bigger question here is going to be whether or not, because we're under the understanding as of now that the actual Disney streaming service is only going to be family-oriented material. There hasn't really been an announcement yet as far as what's going to be done with everything else. So we don't know if they're going to boost Hulu, since Disney now, if when the deal actually goes through, will own, I think, 60% of Hulu. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the rest, because as Andre pointed out, they will have that Fox catalog, which is chock full of all kinds of everything beyond PG rated. So like Family Guy and stuff like that might wind up on Hulu or whatever new service they come up with to promote the more adult oriented material.
Well, the thing with Hulu is that they only own 60% of it, or is it Fox that has 60%?
Well, Fox has 30, Disney has 30, share? And then when they combine, I think
together,
if my numbers 60. Are correct, that's where my understanding. But again, like you pointed out, they don't own the entire thing. So I have a feeling we're going to hear about another brand new streaming service after the fact too. Is my feeling.
That's possible, but the thing is that then they only own 60%, meaning 40% of all revenue and everything like that is going to go to someone else.
Right.
And Disney probably aren't very happy with
Right.
that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to buy up even more of those percentages.
Or that, yeah.
Or, yeah, exactly. There's so many different ways that can go down. But in any event, I don't think that we'll be hearing anything solid before the Fox merger is approved. Because that's going to be so vital for further proceedings with Hulu and everything else. It doesn't rest upon it. But the exact course of action that they're going to take, exactly what shows are going to go where, that is completely dependent on the outcome of the Fox acquisition.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, thank you for the question. Dan Ramos, when did you first decide to start podcasting on YouTube and why? What finally pushed you over the Midnight's Edge to go ahead? Oh, that's a funny play on words. What finally pushed you over the Midnight's Edge?
Yeah, that's a good one. Guys, you came in with the To Midnight's Edge later. So let's hear from you first. Before you got affiliated with Midnight's Edge, you were already podcasting. What caused you to begin with that?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go first. Well, I had done a podcast a couple years before that called Reality Wasted with a couple friends of mine. We did it on iTunes. It was audio only. That ended, and I got kind of what prompted me to start doing it on YouTube. Is I wanted to keep because I do stand up. I wanted to keep my comedy juices flowing. It seemed like a good medium to sort of do that, try out new material. And I got sick of John Campea being wrong all the time. That was another thing. So I said, if he's doing it, how hard could it be? And then Andre saw my Inhumans video and asked me to come aboard, and the rest is history, as they say.
Tom?
I didn't actually start out in podcasting. I actually tried starting a few internet shows, like animated shows and a few other things, and then that was just kind of becoming too tedious, and I started noticing things through channels like Midnight's Edge about all the stuff that was going on with like Ghostbusters and whatnot, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to get out there and put my word out there since everybody else seems to be, you know, and I just decided to start throwing up videos, and then one day I heard from Andre, who said he really liked my stuff and whatnot, and next thing I know, I'm working for Midnight's Edge, basically. Before that, though, I'd worked in radio, and I'd worked in video and stuff like that, so, I mean, I had a bit of a background in the area as far as media goes, but, yeah, I just decided one day to hell with it, and bought a decent mic, and started, I started with a few friends, like Rob did, too. That didn't really work out, and then I just decided to go out on my own, and like I said, next thing I know, I'm in the mix here at Midnight's Edge. Andre?
As for me, and the beginning of Midnight's Edge, that started 1.5 weeks before the first Midnight's Edge episode being published. That's when the idea came to me. Both the idea of Midnight's Edge and the idea of podcasting. They came, well, much at the same time. First came the idea of starting a YouTube channel, and then I partnered up with Kevin, whom I started the channel with, and through our brainstorming, then Midnight's Edge came to be. And yeah, I hadn't done anything like that before, but I know shitloads about how movies are made and the production process, and also I know the business aspect. Not the business aspect of Hollywood in particular, but I know business, because I work in banking, and that's very transferable, and I've dealt with some movie types, so I know a little bit about what's going on there, and I felt that I had a voice and some input that I could share there, that I would be able to give some insights and some perspectives that I saw others weren't. That's one of the reasons why I started it, out of frustration with people just repeating the party line. For instance, someone denying that there's any problem, and everyone just accepting it without seeing the story behind the story, which to me was so obvious. Which is why I then started the channel partially to uncover those things.
Dan, thank you very much for the question. Actually, if you're so inclined, you can head to Patreon and you can catch the Behind the Edge video, probably for a bit more detailed explanation. Thank you for the...
Oh yes, a hell of a lot more detailed explanation. That was a really short version right there.
Anyway, Sarah Moreno, one of our mods. She asks, which character would you like to see in the MCU version of the X-Men? Tom?
That we haven't seen already, or that we have seen before? I guess not real specific there. Boy. I mean, a lot of my favorites have already kind of been done. I don't know if they've been done justice, but... I mean, I guess I was always happy we got Patrick Stewart to play Professor X, because that was one of the ones I always wanted. I'd like to see an interesting new take on Wolverine. Outside of that, well, that's not true. Cyclops has never really been done proper. They've always made him kind of a whiny bitch. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, Cyclops has always been kind of a stiff. So, I mean, has no, like I said, no sense of the leadership. I'd like to see leadership out of him. I'd like to see what they could do with him. Oh God, I could pull. I like to see.
Yeah, because I always envision him more like how Captain America. What's his face? Chris Evans kind of carries Captain America more so than what we got, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of curious to see how they would do Beast. As for a character they haven't done, oh God, this is going way back. I'd be curious to see how they would do Sunfire. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that character, but he was a character who used to step in and out. He was in Giant X-Men, then he kind of quit, and he kind of steps in and out of the Marvel universe. So, I'd like to see how they would do something like the Protoss War. Moira McTaggart's son, Protoss, who was a very powerful mutant. She sheltered him. It was Xavier's son too, I believe. Andre?
Well, as you both said, a non-wuss version of Cyclops would be most welcome. Also, I'd be very happy with a new take on Wolverine, one closer to the comics. And also, Black Tom and Juggernaut. I weren't entirely happy with how they were in Deadpool 2, especially not Black Tom. So, yeah, I'd like to see those two. And also, Jubilee. Because I really like the chemistry between Jubilee and Wolverine in the comics. So I would like to see Jubilee's role being amped up. Especially since she has the stupid superpower of generating fireworks, which is like a little bit useless. And I'm sure you can do plenty good storytelling around that.
Well, they made an Aquaman movie.
Man. Are we gonna? Is Dazzler gonna appear in the next X-Men movie? I mean, has that been confirmed or is that not?
Is there going to be
exactly.
another X-Men movie?
Is there going to be?
As far as the Fox versions,
somebody. Well, regardless, if there is going to be another,
isn't
X-Men
that a
movies,
name that always comes up though when they do talk about a new one? Like, oh, they're going to put Dazzler in this one.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, so we're gonna might have to wait for that one. Anyway, now Sarah, thanks for the question. Tyler BioShock Rod, sweet. Oh, question. Is there any subject you have always wanted to cover but never could for whatever reason?
Oh God, yes. Yes, there are so many. And the reason they haven't been covered has always been down to resources. Lack of time for the most part, because for most of the channel's history, I've been running it solo, believe it or not. And I'm a very busy man. I have a very time-consuming day job, I have family commitments, and all of that jazz, which only leaves so much time for Midnight's Edge. And there are so many videos that I would have liked to done, but I wasn't able to get them out on time, and they just lost momentum. But most of them are going to come in some future form or fashion. I just have to wait for the right time to do them. And also, there are the ones that will never be topic or relevant, but that I still want to do. Like, for instance, I really want to do something on Zorro. I really want to do something on the Kull story, The Shadow Kingdom, because that's such an influential story and people have no idea why. I'd love to do more on the Phantom, specifically Phantom 2040. That's coming sometime down the line. And I've got plenty things coming on, for instance, Conan and He-Man. Just have to find the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah. I don't...
Guys, do you have anything to add to that? Do you have any pet peeves or something that you really want to cover?
I kind of would like to do something about Archer, but I don't think there's enough there. I don't think it's a very controversial topic. You know, at least the stories I've read about Archer haven't been that controversial. Oh, we have this. Oh yeah, Archer. So we had this idea from C-Lab 2020, and we pitched it to FX, and they said we loved it, and that was it. That's pretty much it.
Well, I mean, there's always the stuff that you guys talk about in the comments we'd love to work on, but as Andre said, time is always a crunch. And I mean, I work for the channel full time, even more than what you would consider probably full time. But I mean, there's tons of videos I would love to do all the time that I'm bringing up to Andre that we just don't have the time for. The idea gets stale or old by the time we get to it, so we have to find another way to make it relevant again at some point. Case in point, like Ant-Man. I know Andre was unable to get to any Ant-Man coverage when that happened due to, I believe, a lot of family, commitments and stuff like that, and work commitments at the time, and only doing stuff by himself at that point probably, before he brought Rob and I on. And so now we were able to do it now, since the sequel came out. I thought, it's a perfect opportunity for Andre to give everybody his feelings on that, because he wasn't able to when it actually came out. But I'd love to get my Ninja Turtle mini documentary written, stuff like that.
Yeah. I have to give some props, though. I'm sure that most of you watching have noticed a massive increase in quality of the videos, with how they are cut, and the transitions, and more video. That's all Tom. I can't do any of that. With me, it's just still picture after still picture with some more still pictures on top of the other still pictures. That's me editing. With Tom, it's a little bit more vibrant. So yeah, thumbs up for that.
You're still the director, though. You're the one who comes up with almost everything. So, but speaking of Tyler Bioshock, he actually has written a few of our mini documentaries, like the Mad Max one and our Ant-Man one we just had. So yeah, thanks to him.
Yeah, and so thanks for that, because for most of the channel's history, the things that Rob has read out loud, I'm the one that's written, and that's really time-consuming, writing those mini documentaries. Recently, I've also had help with that from Tyler Bioshock Rodriguez and Sean Amanili, and Tom and Rob, and of course Grant. All of these have helped out so much with the videos as of late, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you all.
Yes, thanks to all involved. I mean, it's as truly as a team effort. Rianne T. Murray, I have a question. Wait, I forgot. Okay, so we'll give...
I'm sure she'll remember later.
Ryan Jackson asks, since Ms. Marvel will be coming to the MCU after Captain Marvel, do you think they keep her Inhumans backstory or chance it? I'm not really convinced that Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, is coming to the MCU. There was a throwaway comment. Actually, it looked like a throwaway comment to me that Kevin Feige made. So, it may just very well be two girls getting off a bus. One of them says, "Hey, Kamala, it's this way," and that's it. Remember, everybody got such a boner when Donald Glover was in Spider-Man: Homecoming, playing Miles Morales' uncle. Oh, we're gonna see Miles Morales in the MCU. I'm like, no, we're not. We're not. So I'm not fully convinced we're going to see Ms. Marvel in the MCU. Guys, what do you think?
You never know, but like I said, we already have Captain Marvel. I think it'd be a little confusing unless they, find a way to... I don't know. I really don't...
She has the exact same power set as Mr. Fantastic, though. I mean, it's a...
I wouldn't be surprised if they bring her in for some time in Phase 4, honestly.
Ryan Jackson, thank you for the question. Giancarlo Andujo. So I've mangled your name properly. He says, you guys are so close to the million mark. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, thank you. Only 940,000 to go.
Yes, I mean, we're right on the cusp. We're right there.
Well, we do take the glass half full point of view, so thanks for the optimism.
Rianne Murray, she remembers her question. Seriously, boss, and all my comrades, congratulations. And my question is, how bad has toxic fandom gotten? Oh boy, this is. There's no real short answer to this.
Well, I say Andre and I both did an editorial on this.
Yeah. So. Okay, you both did an editorial. I'm just gonna say, fandom is. There's been these incidents all throughout fandom. I mean, 1913 in Paris, there were riots after the ballet Rite of Spring. A ballet. Okay, a ballet. There's been riots outside at classical music concerts. 1802 in London, family quarrels, and part of the audience walked out and catcalled because there were some anti-Semitic slights. I mean, 1830s. There's been incidents in the 1830s. There's always been these incidents, and I take it that people who are writing about toxic fandom aren't sports fans. Because, and Andre, I don't know what you know about basketball, and Tom, you may not have heard this. Patrick Ewing, guy who played for the New York Knicks, #1 draft pick, 1984. Big star for the Knicks. It was Patrick Ewing poster night. They gave out life-size posters of Patrick Ewing to every fan in attendance at Madison Square Garden. He blew the game. He blew a shot to win the game, and the posters come cascading down onto the floor. The fans all threw their posters at him from every level of the Garden. I'm like, so there's been these incidents. It's nothing new. So I don't, and for the people who say, oh, toxic man babies, all I gotta say is, you know what? Up yours, okay? You know, we're not the ones ruining the properties. Other people are, okay? And so they gotta expect, hey, you know what? Oh my! And they're acting like, I can't believe you're angry. I just shit on your favorite thing. Yeah, of course we're gonna be angry. Of course we are. So, like I said, so there's been these incidents all throughout history wherever there's fandom. Andre, I mean, Tom, Andre.
I have a slightly Tom, you can go first. I have a slightly different answer.
I was going to say, well, you do kind of have a little bit of a point there, Rob. In a sense that
just a little.
If you think, well, I'm being,
I know,
sarcastic, but if you don't think it's no big deal if you're a grown man to cry over a sports team losing, but yet a few people are upset about Star Wars, then you need to grow up yourself because there's really no difference there. As I said in my editorial, it's all emotional in some way, form, or shape or another on both sides. So everybody has to remember that. It's like, I really liked my analogy of a lost love and finding a new love in both ways. That's the way both these sides of each, and it could go for any fandom in a sense that, one side's upset and they think of pain and misery now because of everything that was once great is now horrible, and those who love the new stuff about it are still caught up in that puppy love phase. So, yeah, Andre?
Well, there are several things to keep in mind here. One is that when you are a fan of something, it becomes part of your identity to some point or another. This is something really fundamental. It's tribal identity. That was really good with the football analogy you came with there, because the thing that you're a fan of, that's the home team for a lot of people. And you root for the home team, and part of that is that you are against the other team, and you're also against impurities in the home team. And then depending on your personality or how big a deal it is in your life, you can get really obsessed with it, maybe to an unhealthy degree. That is something that you have always had. So with any fandom, there's going to be one segment that takes things a little bit too far. With Star Wars, for instance, since there's such a huge fan base, the number of people who take things too far are going to be bigger. But, and here's the but, because now we have something else that has gotten mixed into this to make the matter so much worse. And that is, we are right now in the middle of a culture wars, not just one, but multiple culture wars at the same time. And the primary battlefront, I would say, is in the States, where you then have these political divisions. There's always been political divisions, but they're worse now. They're sharper now. It's not yet open hostilities, but you have like the verbal attacks and the name calling between the different factions. Like, for instance, though, I don't like to use the term, but the social justice warriors, for lack of a better term, versus the more conservatives, and the different ideals and ideologies and directions all clashing together. And then our entertainment has become tools to be used in that conflict. And then suddenly you have then social issues that ideally should be separated from escapist entertainment have now become intertwined with it. And that just makes everything so much more toxic. So has fandom become more toxic than it has been traditionally? Yes. but only because it has taken on a new dimension which wasn't there previously.
Right.
Right.
A new chemical added to the mix, which did make it toxic.
Chemical F.
Yes.
Yes. Well, anyway, thank you for the question, Rayanne. Always nice to hear from one of our mods. Joey DeAngelis, which non-Marvel property are you most looking forward to Disney controlling? MASH. Just because I want to see MASH again.
The world.
Well, let's begin by listing which properties do Fox own, because they are the ones we're talking about here.
Oh, there's The Simpsons, there's Family Guy, there's... Do they technically own Futurama? Yeah. Anything that was probably on FX. Anything that was produced by Fox Television.
So that would mean Archer, You're the Worst, Rescue Me, Sons of Anarchy, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, The Shield. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Alien, Predator, Die Hard.
See, a lot of these things already have things in the pipeline. Whether or not those things will continue is a good question. Speaking of Die Hard, for instance, they've been trying hard to get a 6th film off the ground here for, 2-3 years now since the last one. They've gone back and forth with it being a prequel and having a mix with a young actor playing Bruce Willis in wraparound scenes. So I have no idea what they're going to do with that.
I have a hope for that. Cancel it.
Right, no shit. Alien, I've been hearing some rumors about a TV show. That's a possibility. I could see Disney saying, you know what, this isn't working in theaters. Let's try this as some other entity. Gosh, there's so many. We already know that they'll probably juice up Avatar a little bit and really push that since they have the theme park there, or the attraction in the theme park.
And they're probably going to get the Orville, American Dad. Most likely.
I don't see a lot of stuff changing, really, as far as like the television side of things, because a lot of them have commitments and contracts and all that kind of stuff in order. So there's certain things that are just going to kind of continue as business as usual. But you're definitely going to see a big change in some of the bigger franchises that are kind of out of steam for sure, like Alien and stuff like that. What do you think, Andre?
They also get
Rob?
I'm sorry. They also get the Planet of the Apes too.
Well, and that series has kind of run its course, but we've also heard rumors that there's a planned second trilogy coming, maybe. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, as for me, the ones that I would look forward to, none really. But if you put me to the spot and I have to choose something to be excited about Disney controlling, the first things that comes to mind are Alien and Predator, because I really do not like the direction those movies have taken under Fox in basically modern history. Not even the Prometheus movies. They started out like something that could be something, but they completely lost beat by the second movie. So I actually would hope that they continue to do Alien and Predator movies, maybe even Alien versus Predator down the line. Just go back to the original Dark Horse comics. There's the blueprint. Follow that and it's going to be perfection. But that would require striking everything but the first 2 Alien movies and the first 2 Predator movies from canon. Nothing else ever happened. Start fresh and basically work up to the Dark Horse comics. That would be perfect. So yeah, I'd love that. Also, I'm a huge fan of the FX series The Shield. I know that the showrunner, he was pitching ideas for a follow-up. I would be very interested in Disney taking a crack at that for one of their upcoming digital services. So that would be my answer.
Okay, I think we also get the X-Files too. So I think that's also Fox. Okay, well anyway, thanks Joey, thanks for the question. Mike Matescu, actually, he doesn't have a question. He says, I'm glad to be part of this group, which does so deserve that number of subscribers. It does even deserve way more than that. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. That's really nice of you.
Yes. Ryan actually is another question. Here's a question more towards Andre. What the hell did you think of the Snowman since the source material came from your neck of the freezing woods?
Yes. The Snowman, of course, is based on the novel by Norwegian author Jul Nesbø, and last year it was made into a movie starring Michael Fassbender. That movie was filmed in Norway, so that was kind of a big deal when we got like this Hollywood production coming over, so everyone was really excited. And the movie had a Swedish director who had never directed anything to suggest that he would be a good fit for the Snowman. And indeed, instead of making the movie fast-paced and filled with action and thrills, as it should have been, he chose to rewrite the novel into this dark, slow, and brooding movie which utterly sucked. I had issues with it at the time. And I really haven't seen it since, because I can't stand it. It's such a disappointing, unwatchable movie. And that Swedish director, we love Swedes in Norway, but that particular Swede is persona non grata in Norway, so he better not return. Let's just say, even the author asked to have his producer credit removed from the final movie.
I believe your review is on After Dark.
So, yeah, the review is on After Dark. And Tyler has a follow-up question.
Yes, or the most important of all, where is he in the scene he talked about? Bad film or not, it's pretty cool to have a cameo in it.
Because, as I mentioned, with The Snowman, that came and filmed in my neck of the woods. And I'm not an actor, I'm not a star or anything like that. But when a movie does come to our neck of the woods, I'm going to try to scam my way into it. And in The Snowman, I was actually successful. Yes, I do have a very minor cameo. Actually, I have 2 cameos in it. And I can say where they are. If you freeze frame at... Let's see. If you freeze frame first at 40 minutes and 33 seconds into the movie, then we are in the concert hall. If you look towards the right side of the screen, just as the light is flashing by, there's a guy in the audience who's standing up dancing with a white jacket. I'm the guy sitting behind him. Also, when Michael Fassbender is walking towards the murder scene at 1 minute, 59 minutes and 15 seconds into the movie, I'm the one playing the role of curious neighbor standing there with his wife looking at what is happening. So I'm the one with the jacket with the fur hoodie.
All right.
And the black hat.
All right, take notes, and actually, if we can get some screen grabs, that would be awesome. If someone out there could do a screen grab and put it on the group, I'd love to see that. So, anyway, thanks. I guess Rian, thanks for the and Tyler, thank you for the follow up. Tom Lavoie, do you think the whole Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy situation will have a ripple effect on other studios? If so, what do you think that will be? We're already seeing ripple effects. So certain directors are not going to want to do certain movies, and we're going to see studios less willing to take a chance on these unproven directors. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. But I think I'm of the frame of mind you gotta have done something to get a big movie like Star Wars. Guys, what do you think?
Well, I don't necessarily say you have to have done something, but somebody like Rian Johnson hasn't done much, shouldn't have been given so much control.
Well, another thing, before you go on, another thing I want to see happen, I want to see somebody start to ask questions. You know, during the table read, what is this? What is wrong with you? This is what you think this should be in a Star Wars movie? Go back and do it again. Yeah, at the very least. Okay, sorry to cut you off, Tom.
No, that's fine. They already had the blueprint for that in the making of Episode 1, where you basically see what went wrong. You watch that hour and 9-minute documentary, whatever it is, on the original DVD, I mean, because it's not on the Blu-ray, but the DVD of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, it shows you the deconstruction of how a movie can go wrong horribly if, like Rob said, if people aren't asking questions and saying, wait a minute, you know, this doesn't really make sense, or why is this person doing that, or why is this character doing that, before you're too far down the track to stop the train, then you're going to wind up with an Episode 1. You're going to wind up with The Last Jedi. You're going to wind up with a Solo. These things are going to happen. I know I'm sure Rob and Andre have a little bit more elaborate answer on this, but I mean, this is something we've covered almost to death, but it's just something that's very relevant because, like you said, the ripples will be felt because they're going to take less chance with auteur directors on bigger projects, which is going to be detrimental in some places and not so detrimental in others. And you're going to see the producers that are chosen for these franchises. This is the thing, is like, this would be like your favorite sports franchise signing the biggest sports player in the world and then turn around and they do nothing but suck. And I know Rob can probably elaborate more on that analogy a little bit more since he's more of the sports guy, but yeah, it's like, yeah.
2 words, Carmelo Anthony. So if you're a basketball fan, you know what that means. So, all right, but anyway, remember I said about the guy about nobody asked any questions. There was one guy who asked questions on The Last Jedi and questioned everything. His name was Mark Hamill. He said a Jedi.
That's a good point.
A Jedi wouldn't do this, and nobody listened to him.
Yeah, that's a problem right there. As for me, I think that there's going to be ripple effects. Yes. And not just one, it's going to be several different ripple effects. Some of them completely polar opposite, because the ripple effect is going to be determined by what do you take away from Solo's failure? Why do you think it failed? I think that the people in Hollywood who are smart and who have a mind of their own and who are not going to be swayed by peer pressure and what is the right thing to say and think and do, they are going to come up with the right solutions, and they are probably going to be a little bit more cautious about having their movies being preachy, about promoting a certain agenda, about talking down to their audience. They're going to see, whoa, infusing the movies with these kind of politics really isn't working. That's going to be one ripple effect. Another ripple effect is going to be those that think that the directors really messed up on this one. We need to have strict control with directors. We need producers to micromanage everything, even though the producers may be completely incompetent. And then you have another Fantastic Four situation at your hands. So then that's one that's going to lead to many other completely different problems. Or it could be those that decide that, you know what, fans are really toxic and we shouldn't be making this movie, and if we have to make it, then we need to cut down the budget to reduce our risk, so that then suddenly you don't have the budget to make the movie you wanted. You have to cut corners other places. So there's going to be many, many different ripple effects, all depending on what you attribute Solo's failure to. Because here's the problem, there are so many there who are so ideologically blindsided that they cannot accept the real reason why the movie failed, and they're going to look for other explanations, and they're going to act on false information, and the results are going to be thereafter.
Tom, thanks for the question. Okay, Andrew Price, he wants to know, within this current political atmosphere, do you think that it has been the driving force behind this toxic fandom craze when it comes to social media attacks? Or do you really think that it is a fringe of die-hard fans, or rather oppositional force infringing on the popularity of big-budget Hollywood blockbusters with highly coordinated attacks? Hopefully this doesn't come off as too political, but it almost seems like someone is screaming fire in a theater and causing pandemonium within the audience. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think you have certain factions of fandom, I think that gets magnified by people at the studio, and they use it to shield themselves from criticism, as they've done with The Last Jedi and Ghostbusters.
Tom?
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that, I guess, because that's pretty much kind of going off what we were just talking about before with the whole Kathleen Kennedy Ripples thing. Is like, that's the cause and effect. It's like, how did we get to this point? Well, if you're going to use said property or franchise to push a social political agenda and then get some backlash on it and then try to hide behind a social political agenda, things are going to get political and messy. You know, because there's always, you know, whether it's even 50-50 or, you know, 2/3 and 1/4, however many different people feel about a certain thing, you're going to have, the bigger the franchise, the more amounts of people you're going to have, like what Andre said too, you know, so you're going to have very different, you know, a varied amount of perspectives from, be it political or religious standpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are absolutely on the money, Andrew Price. As I said earlier, the reason fandom has seemingly gotten so toxic is because it has been intertwined with the current political, cultural wars that Star Wars and other genre properties suddenly became a battlefield in a completely different war. Yes, that's absolutely part of the problem, why we're seeing what we do. And you're wondering if this doesn't come off as too political. Well, it's part of the problem. That's the thing. It's part of the explanation and the reason of why this is happening. So you really can't ignore it. We can try to be neutral about it, but we can't ignore it because it's there. It's a reason why this is happening. Of course, we can try to keep our own opinions out of it and just purely analyze, but it's there.
Yeah. Pretty much not much more to add than that. Anyway, Andrew, thank you for the question. Actually, it was, there's a lot to unpack there, but I mean, you know, we're probably going to dive into that more at some other date. But anyway, moving on. Jonathan Molando. We see Jonathan's name appear on the group quite often. Very good member, very good contributing member. Do you think that Hollywood may implode due to the number of box office franchise failures and unhealthy mix of politics? Tom?
I don't know if Hollywood will implode. They'll start to just move on to whatever the next big thing is instead of quote-unquote franchises in genres like what we cover here at Midnight's Edge. Probably they won't be as important anymore, kind of like it was back when we were younger, you know. And as far as like us and on the panel here, you know, we were lucky to get a superhero movie every 10 years, you know, between the Superman film and the first Batman and so on like that. But now every month we get a superhero movie. As long as they make money, Hollywood's going to keep making them, one way or the other. So that's the quick answer anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add to that is that no, it's not going to implode anytime soon. What is happening is that some movies bump, and they're going to take lessons from those movies, but other movies are doing just fine, and some are doing exceedingly well. So Hollywood isn't imploding anytime soon.
Well, one misconception real quick is that basically, you know, we have a larger amount of films that come out now as compared to, like, say, 20 years ago. But it's always been a natural thing. Most movies do not succeed. Only a small percentage actually succeed. So to see the amount of movies we do now, especially with the comic book genre and stuff like that, succeed is actually a bit of an anomaly, in a way.
And because, like I said, because there's so many films that come out, I mean, there's this whole thing about... The people who say, oh, there's far too many comic book movies, there's far too many superhero movies. There's 3 or 4 per year, but they outgross everything. That's the thing. If there were 20 or 50 or 30 being released, you might have a point. Do I think that Hollywood won't implode, but they'll reassess what they're doing. They'll stop trying to be Marvel and just let Marvel be Marvel, and they'll do something else. So that's what I think. Yeah, Jess Reed. Yeah, Jess Reed wants us to know. Actually, there's a follow-up in Jonathan's questions there in the thread. Do you guys have a timeline down on when you're going to do your live shows? This is regarding the live shows we do on After Dark. Usually we try to do it Mondays.
We're trying to work on a schedule that works for everybody involved and our guests and stuff. And it's kind of tough, but it generally seems like, at least 3 to 4 times a week, and we generally go live about 8 o'clock, but we'll definitely get a set schedule going here soon. We're still working on some bugs, so we're kind of in the betas testing kind of phase of it, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. More like the...
I don't know if you have any more to add to it, Rob.
No, more like the gamma testing phase. We're still at the alpha.
By the time this is up, I don't know, maybe we'll have a set schedule.
Okay, well, anyway, more on that. Stay tuned, as they say. Matthew Dive, is a mini doc regarding the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons film a possibility? The current saga has been going on for a good 5 years now.
I can answer that really quickly. It is not an impossibility. That's all I can say at this time. Because there's really nothing more to say. I have never even considered doing a Dungeons & Dragons mini-documentary or editorial or anything about it. It's something I know very little about, so I would have to look into the matter more before I decide that we're going to do it. And until I've decided not to do it, it's always a possibility.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Ryan McGlinchey, current frequent contributor to the group. With the current trend of awful reboots, which are rightfully being called out for the garbage that they are, what are some reboots in any medium that you personally feel are worthy of praise? Aside from Dredd, we all know it's awesome, so no need to go into detail on that.
See, here's the problem. There's a fine line, and people don't really, they use the term reboot nowadays really willy-nilly, and it really doesn't mean anything other than a type of remake or readaptation. It's kind of like trying to amalgamize them all, because depending on where something came from originally, it's either a readaptation or a reimagining or a remake, whichever word you want to put to it. And there's so many good ones out there. There's nothing wrong with remaking something or making it refreshing in some way. It's how it's done and how it's handled, and whether or not it's handled with respect and care, or if it's just handled in a way like a lot of franchises are, just to make a quick buck, without any second thought put into it. Like we have the recent announcement for the Child's Play reboot or remake or whatever you want to call it from MGM, which is just sounds like a mess to me, because from what I understand, I don't think they own the actual rights to Chucky. They just own the rights to the name Child's Play, so they're making a movie in name only that's similar to Child's Play. I mean, that kind of thing to me just screams cash in much like their MGM's recent Death Wish remake. It's those kind of things are sad, you know. But then once in a while you'll get a good remake, even if you got to go back as far as like Scarface or The Thing, stuff like that are always brought up. But you know, in those instances, or The Fly especially, you know, they really reinvented the idea of what the movie was originally in a way that was not only refreshing, but was that spoke to the modern times, and not only that, was able to live on possibly even longer than the original. Because I mean, nobody remembers the original Fly, but everybody remembers Cronenberg's Fly, you know. But yeah, so Rob?
Yeah, obviously, you know, when they rebooted the 007 timeline with Casino Royale, I thought that was really, really well done. Other than that, I can't think of anything recently that I mean, yeah, the Star Trek one was okay when it was good when I saw it. Now it's showing its shortcomings. I can't think of anything else, really. Andre?
There were a lot of good reboots in the 2000s. You already mentioned Casino Royale, obviously. Then you also had Batman Begins, and you had Battlestar Galactica, the series on Sci-Fi. So those were some really good ones from that time period. When we get into the more modern age that we're in right now, then I also really have to stop and think to try to remember some reboots that were really good. People like that. I'm not a fan, but yeah, some people like that. Or loads of people like that, evidently, but I'm not a fan myself. I've heard good things about Netflix Lost in Space, but I haven't seen that myself, so I can't think of any recent ones.
Can't be any worse than the remake.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway.
The one they had to give away free with DVD players?
Okay, Ryan, thanks for the question, as always. Okay, I'm going to take a stab at saying this name. Let's see if Andre...
You're going to take a stab at everything, because you're the narrator supreme.
This man, he's actually from your neck of the woods.
He is from my neck of the woods, so I'm very excited to hear the question.
Espen Bjørgen Mikkelsen. How close was I?
Not too bad,
okay,
but carry on.
I'm reading the translation. Where do you...
No, don't read the translation.
Okay.
Read the original.
Fjord syntes dudet best og kjørpet kebab in Oslo.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. This would be my fellow countryman Espen Børen Mikkelsen, who wonders, where do I think it's best to buy kebab in Oslo? Which really hasn't anything to do with entertainment, but we said ask me anything, and we meant it. So if you are ever going to Oslo and you feel like kebab, then you want to go to Kirkeristen. That's located in Karl Johan, or right next to Karl Johan, and there in Kirkeristen you have two kebab shops. One is this little diner where they have kebab and they have pizzas and stuff like that. Don't go to that one. That's total shit. The one right next to it is this tiny little itty-bitty shop. It's really tiny. You only have like room for 2-3 people in it at the same time. Really, it's the size of an outhouse. It's that small. But they have the best kebab in Oslo. Some people swear by Bislett kebab, and there's nothing wrong with that, but for the absolute best in Oslo, I say go for the tiny little one in Kirkerisen.
Yeah, I like his picture on his Facebook thing of the stormtroopers carrying the Norwegian flag. That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh boy! Oh, while reading the question, reading his name, I kept thinking to myself, how would Andre pronounce this? So that's. So I did my best. So.
Much better than we would.
Yeah, so
that's the answer.
Espen.
Well, in my defense,
yes,
I am Norwegian.
So you have the advantage over me.
My whole semester of German,
yeah,
that's not even close.
So anyway, that was Espen. Thank you for the question. Daniel Garrett Irwin, do you think we will ever get a roundtable on the ongoing fiasco that is Sony Pictures Entertainment? We've done a lot of them, actually.
We did one that never saw the light of day, actually, full disclosure. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to wind up on Patreon or if Andre has any further plans for that, but at one point we were kind of thinking about just doing an evaluation, like State of the Union of all the studios, but I think because of the fact that stuff changes so quickly, it was very difficult to put together, and it didn't come off, I think, the way in concept on paper, just like movies, sometimes it looked good, but when executed, it didn't turn out too well, I don't think. Andre?
Yeah, so we're going to have to revisit that at some point. We are going to get back to Sony when they are failing again. They're doing fairly okay for right now. We're definitely going to do something more on Sony in conjunction with the release of Venom. I can't wait to dig into that. But about Sony as a whole and their precarious situation, if they're going to be sold or what have you not, we'll get back to that when we know more, when more is announced. That's when we're going to get back to that. A roundtable or editorial or something. We are not done with Sony yet, let's just say.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I was just going to say, next time we talk about Sony will probably be when we talk about when they're sold. Or selling Columbia Pictures and the whole entertainment division, but yeah.
Anyway, Daniel, thanks for the question. Gary Sanders has a related question. Sony, with massive help from Marvel, has seemingly got Spider-Man back on track within the MCU. Unfortunately, they've made the decision to make these side Spider-Man characters most of us do not care about into a universe that they don't have to share with Marvel. I think that's a path to failure. What do you think? And he also says, congratulations on continued success. Well, thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, that's a big problem. These characters, a lot of these characters don't work without Spider-Man. They really don't. Nobody cares about a Venom movie unless Venom's going to be in a Spider-Man movie. Same with Michael Morbius. They should be using Michael Morbius in the next Spider-Man movie. That's what I think. Guys, what do you think?
I wouldn't say that nobody's going to be interested, because I think Venom is probably going to do okay box office wise.
Yeah, that's what has me
worried.
worried.
The problem is going to be it's going to be a shitty movie and it's still going to do okay. So then they're going to be like Andre, I think Andre is going to get to is like, yeah, then they're going to say, oh, well, we can keep doing this. Certain characters like Morbius might work a little bit better on their own. We brought this up in one of the live shows. But again, that brings back to Venom, though. Venom being the more popular character. I said this on the live show, he's really a yin and yang with Spider-Man. You almost have to have Spider-Man for Venom to be able to have half the powers that he has, because he absorbs them from Spider-Man. So how are you going to change that? And from what we've seen from the trailer, it just looks like your typical, I don't know, kind of like sci-fi-ish kind of superhero kind of concept, and almost like making it more generic, I guess.
It comes across almost like almost a sci-fi body horror movie.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, the problem is like I said, and Rob kind of touched on it and everything too, is that, they always say the hero's only as good as the villain. Well, a villain's only going to be as good as the hero too, in the same way. And once you make the villain the hero, whether it's an anti-hero or the hero, you're inherently changing who that character is. And which is something that goes against everything that we, talk about here at Midnight's Edge, as far as like, the rules, as far as like how you can do these franchises justice and still make them consumable for the largest amount of people. There are ways you can do it, and you have to just basically tread these fine lines of rules that are out there. And that's a big part of it, is like not changing who the characters are inherently at their core. And once you do that, then they're not the same character. That was one of the issues I had with like Suicide Squad, because granted, Margot Robbie did okay as Harley Quinn, but is that really Harley Quinn? You know what I mean? I mean, there's certain things about her that I don't think I ever would have seen Harley Quinn do or say, because, it just doesn't ring true to the character.
Yeah, the problem with Venom is that he's a mirror image of Spider-Man. Really, I mean, he's kind of like
the yin and yang. Yeah,
the yin and yang. Yeah, I mean, he's a reflection. He's like, what if Spider-Man was evil? Yeah, and it's a.
I think the whole look of Venom on purpose looks like a yin and yang sign.
Yeah. What if the actualized, making Spider-Man into a quote unquote badass, And there's a lot of people that like Venom. I kind of tend to think a lot of people like Venom for the wrong reasons, though. Oh yeah, this is what Spider-Man would be like if he was a badass. I'm like, no, this is what Spider-Man would be like if he was a remorseless dick. I mean, come on. But anyway, like I said, it really needs Spider-Man to play off of.
Back to the topic at hand. The real problem with Venom is that, by all indications, at this time, the movie is going to do well enough that it might embolden Sony to take Spider-Man out of the MCU and into their own Spider-Verse, which will then consist of Venom and Morbius the Vampire and all the other things that they have planned there. And then it's all going to go to hell again. Because that's a strategy that might be successful in the very short term, as in 1 or 2 movies. And then it's going to go to hell after that. So I agree with you completely, Gary. I think it's a path to failure as well.
Anyway, well, Gary, thank you. Great question, Gary. Thank you very much. And thank you on the congratulations, too, and the wishes for continued success. John Pascal, he says, "Woo!" And here's his question: And how much do you think a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Woodchuck wood. Much. Probably about a quart and a half. Anyway. Okay. Get to chucking. Thanks, John. It's Ask Us Anything.
Woodchuck with a nunchuck. There you go. I just made a new comic book.
There you go. Jake Bennett, do you think the MCU will go down the SJW identity politics route at the end of Phase 3? I'd like to think Kevin Feige is smarter than that, but we haven't heard Brie Larson say anything else. So I think Kevin Feige has already had the talk with her. So what do you guys think?
I think it all depends on how much longer Kevin Feige sticks around, because you got to remember, he's been doing this now for quite a while, and he's kind of insinuated that, you know, he might want to go do some other things, and it sounds like, you know, people like James Gunn are going to be a lot more hands-on with the entire Marvel Universe. So it'll be interesting to see who actually kind of takes on this entire thing going forward, if he does decide he's going to step aside for a while. And then it'll be the big question on how things go. I think they've been on this upward streak, regardless of how you feel about Ant-Man and Wasp, that it's going to take something cataclysmic and 2 or 3 cataclysmic things in a row for the Marvel studio to really be like, you know, in any kind of downward phase, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. Andre?
Yeah, if you were talking about how to end the reign of the MCU, yeah, 3 flops in a row are going to do that. Do I think that the MCU will go down the SJW identity politics route at the end of Phase 3? Possibly. I wouldn't rule it out. If they do, then I hope that they are able to wrap it in otherwise great movies, because that's the absolutely only way it's going to work, is if the movies still work. If the movies don't work and they become preachy, featuring politics which in some sense are divisive rather than unifying, that's really going to increase the odds of the movie bombing and putting off lots of people.
Okay. Oh, all right. Jake, thanks for the question. Eric Kramer, how do you compare the backlash over Zilla 98 when compared to Ghostbusters 2016, Godzilla 98? I saw Godzilla 98 in the theaters. I don't remember there being a huge backlash. The movie just was terrible, and people just kind of went about their business.
Yeah, they're not really similar. Because the only similarity I could see, unless Andre could see anything else, would be in the misconception in the advertising, I guess.
They don't compare at all. All that movie is a bad remake. I equate Godzilla 98 with the remake of Lost in Space, like the one with the dude from Friends and everything.
That one keeps coming up.
To me, the two of those are the same thing. They're just both bad remakes of something that came before.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, on the other hand, that's something completely different, because what we're seeing right now with Star Wars, that first started with Ghostbusters. There's been plenty of movies that have had backlash for various reasons, but Ghostbusters was, in my estimation, the first movie to really get caught up in the current cultural wars with identity politics and what have you not. And what really brought that to the point was the election happening that year between the Republicans and the Democrats, which turned out to be Hillary versus Trump. And the movie went out and took sides. Rather not the movie itself, but the people involved with the movie. Sony were dead against the idea. They were horrified of the taking of sides. But Paul Feig and several others involved went out and officially declared that Ghostbusters is with her. And the defenders of the movie were quick to label the detractors, the people who had a problem with the movie for whatever reason, as Trump supporters. So that's an example of a movie that got really embroiled with real-life politics, not just identity politics, but party politics and a presidential election. So there's really no comparison with any other movie's backlash prior to that. You can only compare with things that happened after, like Star Trek Discovery, or with Star Wars right now. But really, Ghostbusters reset the clock where Backlash is concerned.
All right. So, okay, let's take some questions from our YouTube channel, YouTube subscribers. Henry Walsh. You are so amazing. I just can't even. You are cinematic genius. This isn't a question. This is just a statement. Your videos are calm, intelligent, and downright hypnotizing. Well, thank you for the compliments. So,
thank you very much, Henry.
He's talking about Andre, of course.
yes, of course. Zero HBR. What are your biggest inspirations? Who are your favorite YouTubers? I love your analytical approach to the movie industry. Hugs from Brazil. Thank you very much, Zero. My biggest, I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedians. So, George Carlin, Sam Kinison, Rodney Dangerfield. My favorite YouTubers. Do I have favorite YouTubers? I don't know.
You've discovered a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah, Doomcock. He's like definitely Doomcock. Tom?
Gosh, that's such a loaded question. As far as what we do here on Midnight's Edge, to kind of narrow it there, between just Andre was an inspiration to me to begin with what he did here, and then now I'm a part of that, which is just amazing. And then, my biggest inspirations probably have to be like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Those two guys really, I think, inspired me a lot. And as far as on YouTube in general, just Andre, I guess, and just I'm sure there's a few more. I mean, I really liked what the guys at RLM started doing at first with like their original videos on the Star Wars and Star Trek films and stuff like that. And Angry Video Game Nerd, of course. Those guys really clicked with me early on, I guess. Andre?
Well, I have a few inspirations of my own, and these then would be the ones that actually inspired the formation of Midnight's Edge, or rather, I'll say it one more time. Well, I have a few channels and videos that inspired me as well to begin podcasting and to start Midnight's Edge. If there is one that I have to single out, and I can, there is one video above all which really blew me away and inspired me to really get into the behind the scenes drama and how people and their different opinions and their approaches to material and what have you not influences what is on screen. And that is a video from the channel Horror is Dead, called Documentary in parentheses, how New Line Cinema destroyed the Friday the 13th franchise. If you watch that video, then you can trace a direct line from it to Midnight's Edge. Other inspirations include Red Letter Media, specifically, or rather only, the 3 videos breaking down the prequel movies, or the Star Wars prequels. They were huge inspirations with how they were approached and handled. And then I also have to give a shout out to the Nostalgia Critic, because the way that he did it just showed me that I can do this. I'm going to do it a different way, but he just goes there and he does his stuff. I can do the same thing. So those were the inspirations. As for favorite YouTubers, I actually don't watch that many YouTubers on a regular basis, but if I have to shout out to any, or if I want to, the one that I watch for pure entertainment, because I think he's a really fun guy, he has some good thoughts, I don't really agree with him on everything, but I greatly enjoy his videos, KidCom. Check him out, he's a hoot. And also I appreciate Comic Book Cast 2 for their constant news updates. So that's like a good place to just stay up to date with news items as they drop. And there is some good analysis there from time to time. And then there are some other channels I like as well, but in terms of relating to movies and to entertainment, those are the most important ones.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the question. Michael Poreski. How did you get into analyzing movies? How do you analyze a movie? How are you able to call out bullshit while others kowtow the official line? Do you think part of your success is because you're not afraid to speak your own opinions, which may be radically different from propaganda that the mainstream media tries to spin? Thanks for the hours of insightful commentary. Just became a Patreon supporter this month. Thank you very much for your support on Patreon. How do you get into analyzing movies? You just have to love movies, really. It helps if you kind of know a little bit something about writing and how a movie is made, or you know, and it helps if you know about a little something about storytelling. But you really just have to love movies. You just can't be afraid to say how you feel about it. But it has to be more than just this sucks. You know, okay, why does it suck? Okay, what don't I like about it?
Stinks.
It stinks. Yeah. So if the movie stinks, just don't go. Tom?
To go off of kind of what Rob was just saying. Yeah, I mean, just personally, my love of film started real young. I started noticing, being the one that always seen everything. Everybody, well, what'd you think, Tom? What'd you think, Tom? So finally I was like, you know what? Start writing out reviews, and I got printed in the local school paper and stuff. Started from there, and you know, I did a few reviews on the radio when I was there, and then I moved into video and owned my own video store at one point. So everybody's always asking what you think of a film. So, and like Rob said, you got to say more than it just sucks, because in some instances, especially when I was working in a video store, you got to look at the customer and be like, if I know that customer and I know what they typically like to watch, I wouldn't give them my personal review so much as I know you'll like this because you like this, like a Netflix before Netflix, I guess. But no, that's really kind of how it starts. It's like, because, you know, a lot of reviews you could take from that perspective. They don't have to necessarily be a negative review to be like, you know, it's not my movie, but if you liked this movie, you might like said movie, kind of thing. Other than that, it's just, you know, like Rob said, just being able to love film in general and be able to notice certain traits and tropes in different films. And frankly, I mean, where I understand where a lot of critics come from, or I am somewhat, I guess, a critic myself in a way, is that's like, you see all these movies, so you see all this stuff, and the general audience may not see all the same movies you see, but you know, the reason you're telling them that it sucks, you know, or sometimes, to use the term Rob just used, or whether or not it's good, you know, you have to give them a reason, and they may not always agree with you, but if you're decent enough in the way you present your ideas, you'll get a lot of comments like we do here on Midnight's Edge and After Dark, as to where I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from because you explained why, you know, and stuff like that, and it'll start a whole new conversation. And that's kind of really what it's all about, is the conversation of film, really, in general, even if it's just somebody having a conversation with themselves, which is just a review, basically. Andre?
Well, first of all, Michael, thank you for supporting us on Patreon. Yes. That's actually a really huge deal, so we're so grateful to all our Patreons, and we cannot overstate the importance of it. Just to put things into context a little bit, because you don't hear us complaining about the adpocalypse as some other channels do, but it does affect us as well. Like, for instance, the video that you're commenting on right now, Star Wars: The Fan Rage and the Bold-Minded versus the Hack Directors. Do you know how much we're going to earn on that video? Nothing, because YouTube decided that advertisers are snowflakes, and there's something unholy in it apparently, so that we don't get monetized. That's how things are on YouTube right now, so we really appreciate your Patreon support. That aside, on to your question, how do you get into analyzing movies? How do you analyze a movie? Here I think that you're probably talking about picking up the subtext in movies. I would say read a book. Because one thing is that you have to watch the movie itself, but to pick up the subtext, you need to learn to really watch and pay attention to what is communicated, not just in words, but visually, on screen. You have to be trained in picking up the minute details, which aren't necessarily obvious, to catch what the movie really is about. You don't need to be educated within film to do it, but you do need a passion for film and cinema to take the movie apart and pick up what's it really about. What are the layers underneath what's happening on screen? And then the next part of the question, how are you able to call out the bullshit while others kowtow the official line? Well, in my case, That's very simple. I don't come from a movie background, but I do come from a business background. I'm an academic and I work in business and banking and finance, so I do know how corporate politics work, and I can easily recognize that in the movie industry. It's so easy to apply. Once you've done that in finance, it is pretty much the same in anywhere that has to do with investment. And the film industry, really, when it comes down to it, is just another investment industry. Instead of investing in oil or in sugar or in technology, they're investing in movies. So it's the same kind of decisions which are made there, and you have much of the same problems, only you have the additional layer of these are movies and it's a creative industry. But behind the scenes, you have much the same personnel conflicts and stuff. And it's actually very easy to recognize once you've worked with it yourself, as I have. So that's how I do that. And do you think part of your success is because we're not afraid to speak your opinions? I think that's part of it, absolutely. But I think the biggest part of it actually is that we lucked out with Ghostbusters, and we kind of had like the right thing at the right time, and we were able to build an audience, because I'm sure there's loads of channels out there that you haven't heard about that maybe has the same or even better analysis than us, but you haven't heard about them because they didn't luck out with having the right thing at the right time, which we did to some extent.
Yeah, and you know what also helps? Your ability to speak your mind also helps if you have really nothing to lose. And we don't get access to anybody. We don't get paid by anybody. So what do we care if we piss off somebody in an office somewhere?
Yeah, that's a major thing that Rob touched on just there. Why others kowtow to the official party line, because many of the media outlets, they're in the same industry. It's like a cotton industry where they're supporting each other, and they know that if they go too far away from the official line, it's going to cost them in future access. So they rather stick by the party line. Someone says, no, there's no production problem, we deny it, then they denied it, nothing to see here, move on, folks. Whereas, as Rob said, we have nothing to lose. We don't have any affiliation whatsoever, despite people saying that we're bought by Disney and Disney chills and what have you not. Well, I've never seen their paychecks, let's say.
I wish.
And yeah,
I'd take Goofy's paycheck, fuck Mickey's.
And after our Star Wars coverage, I doubt very much they're in any kind of rush to get us on payroll. So
the damage is done there.
But really, no, it's just a matter of that we're completely independent. Again, that's why we're so dependent on your support, because Sony isn't paying us anything, let's say.
No. Well, thank you for the question. Thank you for support on Patreon. Frank Ortega, he said...
And check out all our great stuff on Patreon.
Yes, definitely. Frank Ortega says, I want to direct a Star Wars film. Well, that's not really a question, but I hope we get the chance one day. Mossing234, what is your preferred sandwich? I like a good old-fashioned meatball sub.
That's pretty good, Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Depends on my mood, really.
Yeah.
As for me, the avocado sandwich from Joe and the Juice that we have loads of here in Oslo.
Well, anyway, thank you for the question. PlayStation Jedi. He says, first of all, great channel, guys. Enjoying your content since I first discovered you through the Ghostbusters videos. Question, have you ever thought of doing more videos based on video game movies like the Mario movie by Illumination, the long in development Uncharted movie, Assassin's Creed, Sonic the Hedgehog, and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie by Blumhouse? Andre?
The quick answer is nope. Never thought about it.
I've thought about a little bit about the Mario Brothers one, but yeah.
Yeah. That is not to say that it's never going to happen. Now that you remind me, yeah, I actually would like to do something on the Super Mario Brothers movie. The one that came out in 1991 or whatever that was, because I'm sure there's going to be another Super Mario movie down the line, and that would be a good timing for a retrospective on that movie. Maybe we'll do one anyway, because I know exactly where it went wrong.
That's something actually I've thought about myself, and I don't know if I've actually brought it up to you or not, Andre, but definitely Mario Brothers, like I said just a bit ago too, and Andre just said.
Yeah. So PlayStation Jedi, the answer was no, had never thought about it. But now that you put the idea in my mind, then yeah, maybe. As far as Uncharted movie, Assassin's Creed, Sonic the Hedgehog, Five Nights at Freddy, no, never considered it. Still no plans about doing it. But Super Mario, yeah, maybe. That's probably a matter of time.
Thank you for the question, PlayStation Jedi. Gunt Fox. Okay, buckle up. This is a bit of a long one. I have nothing but immense respect for you and the rest of the Midnight's Edge team's work. The content from this channel is so informative and professional, and told in such a smart manner. Even when I'm not interested in a topic of an editorial, I'll watch the video knowing I'll be pulled in from the incredibly professional and mature insight into Hollywood. Thank you so much for all the amazing content and consistent content. If I have one question to ask, where do you think film journalism will go? And what is the future of online journalism in general? With social media offering so many different sides of a story, like the video just posted on Star Wars' uncertain future and fan base, there's no doubt that journalism in all industries, especially film, has radically evolved. Again, thanks for reading and keep up the stellar work. I think...
Well, thanks a lot for the kind words, and absolutely, we intend to keep the work up.
I got a short answer to that real quick. First of all, I think it's going to kind of... It's the playing field. It's going to blow up a little bit because there's a difference between journalism and being a pundit. And us here at Midnight's Edge, we really kind of tread that line all the time, depending on what we're presenting. Hopefully, we survive when it does kind of implode on itself. But yeah, everybody has a voice and everybody has an opinion, and hopefully, those that actually are the most insightful and have the most to offer to the idea bubble get theirs out there. I guess that's the short version.
Yeah, I think online journalism is going to get better and worse at the same time. I mean, you got a lot of good people doing a lot of good work, and you got a lot of people doing a lot of terrible work. And the cream doesn't always rise, as they say. Film journalism, I think, has been getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because now you have a lot of... When you write for a magazine or you write for a newspaper, you used to have to go through an editor. But now you have a lot of websites, they pretty much just look around the office. Anybody want to go see the new Ant-Man movie? I'll go. Oh, okay, yeah, Ray.
And everything's clickbait now,
yeah, and everything's clickbait, yeah. But so, hopefully that'll get sorted out in the next couple of years. Andre?
I think that basically we're in for a fracturing of the market, so to speak. I think that the more conventional media is going to be less and less important, and more people are going to go online for their movie news fix to channels like Collider or all of the other big ones, and some are going to find their way to the smaller ones like us as well. I think that's the direction that the market is headed. It's not necessarily the best ones which are going to rise to the top and be the most popular. On the contrary, I think it's going to be the most simplistic and the stupid and the shallowest ones which are going to be the most popular. But I think there's going to be loads of variety out there, but the market is going to be so fractured that for you as the reader or the watcher or consumer, or however you want to put it, you are going to have a much harder job picking and finding a source to keep you informed. Because there's just going to be so many, and so many are not going to have any kind of fact checks or controls or anything, which means it's going to be more difficult to pay attention to. That's what I think.
Okay. Goon Fox, thanks for the question. Beepus Peepus 420. Outside of discussing the cinema associated with comic books, do you have a favorite comic book run, writer, and character? My favorite is Daredevil. My favorite run is X-Men: The Dark Phoenix Saga, and my favorite writer is Chris Claremont, actually.
Like the Ninja Turtles, the first run that Eastman and Laird did, their original run. Gosh, there's always the great classics. but one that really always stuck out to me is Watchmen and Kingdom Come. Those two graphic novels, and if they ever can be done correctly on screen, that'd be great. But they're always there in paper form, so we've got them. I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that one.
As for me, I have a really hard time locking down just one favorite comic book character or writer or run. It's going to be different depending on what I'm reading at the time and how I feel on the day. So I'm going to have to give you a list of several, and then in no particular order, my favorite characters, runs, and writers would be Bill Mantlow's run on The Incredible Hulk, the Roy Thomas run on Marvel's Conan, Garth Ennis' 2 runs on The Punisher. One was Punisher Max, and the other is in Marvel Knights. I think both of them are absolutely stellar. And then, of course, Judge Dredd, which I'm a huge fan of. And there it's John Wagner, who really excels. Like, almost all of the stuff written by John Wagner is fantastic. If it's not written by John Wagner, then, yeah, it might not be all that special. And, of course, David Michelinie's run on Spider-Man.
Okay. All right. Well,
honorable mention to Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah.
And The Killing Joke.
Yeah. Long Halloween, actually, is also really good.
And that's another good one. Yeah, Batman excessively has a lot of good graphic novels. So I guess I'd have to mention that, yeah.
Okay, Shunyongo, he says, have you heard about The Predator having had massive reshoots for the third act, along with elements from the original cut apparently being taken out? Actually, I haven't heard about that.
Well, we did. I thought we covered it on one of the videos on After Dark, but yeah. Otherwise, I did hear a few things about it, and frankly, I've been just kind of worried about Predator since I seen that first trailer. And I love Shane Black normally. I'm just like, I'm trying to be optimistic going into this, but nothing that I've seen and heard is giving me any inclination to be optimistic. Andre, do you have a little bit? I know you're a fan too, so what do you think?
Yeah, I am a fan of Predator in principle. Like you, I saw that first trailer, and I was instantly tuned out right away. I decided that, what the hell are they remaking? Alien versus Predators, the sequel, which
exactly.
was even worse than Alien versus Predator. Yes, I have heard about the reshoot rumors, and I do believe them. I'm not surprised in the slightest, because based on that one little snippet of footage, like, you can never really judge a movie from a trailer, but if you were to judge a movie from a trailer, that looked like a disaster. So I'm not at all surprised that there's loads of behind-the-scenes issues going on. We will, of course, cover this in a future mini-documentary or something. That's probably going to come closer to the movie's release, when we have been able to research the situation a little bit more thoroughly.
Okay. And so he also has a follow-up. Any thoughts on why this December is going to be so crowded, with almost every big Hollywood studio trying to release a big movie in that month, from Alita to Aquaman to Mortal Engines to Bumblebee and to animated Spider-Man, etc., etc., etc.
The list of future flops. I mean,
well, the kids are off from school for the Christmas break. Everybody wants a piece of that action.
There's no Star Wars.
Yeah, there's no Star Wars this year too. Yeah,
and isn't? Oh wait, that's next year. I was gonna say He-Man's supposed to be on that list too, but that's next year. That it's gonna be oversaturated December, but one or two of those movies are gonna do okay. The rest are gonna flop.
Yeah,
basically, I think Spider-Man and Bumblebee, maybe Mary Poppins are the only. That's a wild card. Are the only ones right now that have a chance in hell, but I could be wrong.
But back to the question on why they are doing it. Why
no
it's
Star
so
Wars.
crowded? Well, that's really... well, yeah, basically that's what it boils down to. There's no Star Wars, there's no Avatar coming that month, but that is the month where those movies have done some amazing business, because traditionally it's not that a crowded month in the cinema, and since it isn't, and there's nothing really coming until much later, so movies can open big and they can have long legs. Now, this year, several studios figured that out all at the same time. So they all decided to act in their own self-interest and say, hey, there's no Star Wars this year, so we are going to occupy that spot, and we're going to put our big movie there, and it's going to do the business that Star Wars otherwise would have. Well, the problem is that now that everyone has put their movie there, it's summer version 2.0 with heavy competition.
Yeah.
I think the most telling thing, though, is that nobody's afraid of Aquaman. Because Aquaman's had that spot for how long?
Randy Lennon Ramirez, congrats on reaching 60,000 subs. So my question is, should Comcast lose out on Fox? What other companies do you think they could go after? I don't think they should go after anybody else, really. I don't like Comcast. So if Comcast would shrivel up and fall off the face of the earth, I would be a happy camper.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get their hands on Fox. They might set their sights on Sony after this, though. Andre?
Well, it's really just a money game. If they pay enough for it, they're going to get Fox. If they increase the money up until such a point where Disney can no longer match it, and they're almost there, Comcast is going to get it. This can happen. And Comcast has more money than Disney.
But the one thing that is in the way is there's a lot of regulatory stuff that Comcast would have to deal with, as opposed to Disney already has their merger.
That stuff got a lot easier after the Warner AT&T merger got approved. The moment that happened, it set a precedent which emboldened Comcast. Now, that doesn't mean that it's smooth sailing. Of course, if they were to outbid Disney and a new merger were to happen, then that is also going to have to go through this 1.5 to 2-year regulatory process before it can finally be approved. And during that process, things may happen. It may have to be changed. It may have to, basically anything can happen there. But in principle, Comcast can outbid Disney and take over Fox instead. If they don't, then yes, I agree with you. Sony's going to be next on the chopping block.
Okay, yeah. Actually, Randy, thank you for the question. Mackenzie Lambert, he asks, we've seen wrestlers over the decades transition into acting, but who are some actors who you think would make a great transition into the wrestling ring? Well, all wrestlers are actors anyway. I mean, so it wouldn't be that far.
Yeah, it's...
I know one. I would like to see Miles Teller make that transition. Because he has a very punchable face.
Oh, I think Andre won that one, so we'll go with that.
Yes, yes, I second that. There you go, Miles Teller. Okay, Edgy Smedgy. He wants to know, are there any exclusive scoops that we have that will ever break? And also, do you guys know anything on the He-Man movie? Is it still happening?
Well, to answer the first question first, any exclusive scoops you guys have or will ever break? We have broken scoops before, and we will again when we have them. Do we sit on any right now in this moment? No, we don't. As for the He-Man movie, is it still happening? I am not sure it is. Things seem to be going at a snail pace there, and they really need to hurry if they are to catch the December 2019 release date. And they have to catch that release date, because if they don't, the rights revert to Mattel. So they can only push the movie up, they can't push it back. So if something is happening, for all we know, it could be a massive flurry behind the scenes. It can progress really, really well, for all we know, they just haven't told us. But based on the last thing we heard, it looks to me like the movie is not going to happen. But again, before this is aired, they could announce a new director or star or something like that. But, yeah.
Well, Edgy Smedgy, thank you. Great name, by the way. Anyway, thank you for the question. Studio Tom just says, congratulations on the achievement. Keep up the good work, guys. Wishing you more growth. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
Ryan Yewell actually has two questions. Living in Rwanda, access to legal releases of new media entertainment is at times impossible. We still live in release schedules based on physical film era. I would gladly pay more than theater ticket to watch online at home. When, how, why will we see 21st century distribution?
You mean, how will you see that in Rwanda? I don't know. I don't know the local infrastructure
It's
in
not.
Rwanda.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just the old laws. I mean, somebody actually has to go in and set up a network to do that. I don't know anything about what the conditions on the ground are in Rwanda, and like as Andre said, so you know, this goes on all the time on when I would go on the PlayStation.com message boards. Oh, how come I live in Nigeria? How come the PlayStation Network isn't here? Because they haven't gone in and set it up yet. That's the thing. There's a lot of places that don't have it.
Well, and sometimes it's licensing and
Sometimes
regulatory
there's
stuff.
laws,
and,
like local laws. I mean, yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
there's a
Yeah, you'd be
lot.
surprised.
There's a lot of factors going to that. So there's no good answer we can give you about that.
like we just said, they'd have to find distributors for areas, and then it's all kind of.
And
There's a lot of regulations and the copyrights and
And actually, this actually is another question, which looks like our final question. Very surprised to learn Josh Trank back in the mix with Fonzo. We all have our regrets, mistakes, faults. In social media age, it can be brutal, and Fantastic Transgate was a phenomenon. Yes,
Trankgate.
Transgate is a completely different thing.
Yes, Transgate. We are transitioning to Trankgate. That's what we're doing. But anyways, Fantastic Trankgate was a phenomenon. Hoping he has grown, learned, matured, persevered, earned a chance at redemption. Your thoughts? America's the land of second chances. That's all I got to say.
Well, I got to give him credit because I was listening to an interview with him not too long ago, and he basically admitted to like half the stuff was true that got out there, but he's like, no, this isn't true, that isn't true, and all the Kimberg and people that got involved behind the scenes and everything, and it's hard to say exactly how much of the shit we hear about somebody like him is just corporate bullshit spin to save their own ass when it came to like Fantastic Four. And, the basic idea that he lost the job at Star Wars over those rumors and stuff, that's understandable. And, if he pissed the wrong people off, you're going to get blacklisted in Hollywood. That's just the way it works.
The problem for Josh Trank is that he committed the worst cardinal sin of all. He basically disowned his own movie, the one that he's director of, on the eve of the movie's release. He released a tweet basically saying, this is not his movie and it's not his vision. And he said that the moment that the really harsh reviews started coming in, and that tweet cost them who knows how much. Maybe it didn't cost them anything, maybe it cost them tens of millions, that's impossible to say. But basically, that was a huge act of disloyalty. All of the other stuff that he did behind the scenes, those are things that could be forgiven if the movie had really, really performed. But that one thing, that's going to cost him. And then all of the other production issues, which sound like a joke, they come on top of that. So yeah, we really have to hope that he has grown and he has learned how to basically act like a professional, which is something that he did not do. And this movie right here, Fonzo, which is an independent movie because no big company is going to hire him or back him, that is his one shot at trying to get redemption. So if that movie is amazing, then maybe if he is lucky, he might get another shot somewhere. But, let's hope that movie is good for his sake.
Actually, that looks like that'll just about do it here for our special Ask Us Anything version of Midnight's Edge. We'd like to thank all of you for submitting your questions. And as always,
and making this possible.
And you guys, like I said, you stuck with us. 60,000 subscribers is quite a milestone from where we started. So, we'd like to thank you, and hopefully we'll have much, much more in the future, and then the sky's the limit for us. And if you like what we do, why not check us out on Patreon? Patreon subscribers can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of bonuses. The Behind the Edge videos, as Andre has already said. Isn't that right, Andre?
Yeah, that's about right. And that's where I go through the entire behind-the-scenes story of how Midnight's Edge came to be and how the channel has and continues to evolve.
Yes, and you can get all kinds of neat stuff there. You can get lost episodes. You can get bloopers, outtakes, all kinds of great stuff. And as I said before, you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. And as always, if you don't have the means to support the channel through Patreon, then click subscribe to our main channel, Midnight's Edge. Subscribe to our sister channel, Midnight's Edge After Dark, where Tom and I host a variety of live shows. We have all kinds of commentaries, all kinds of neat stuff. And as I always say, click subscribe, click the bell icon, because as always, we cannot do this without you. So, any parting words, gentlemen?
Frankensteinian-ness.